friends, welcome to this lecture of discussion round of speaking test. So we'll cover all the things and strategies which are used in this round. So basically the first thing you need to know is that how much time you will be getting in your part 3. So here I'm writing it's 4 to 5 minutes. Right. So let's start with part 3 of speaking test. The examiner will ask you several questions. Now here the questions will be based on either Q card topic and then it can be from any general issue. Right. Now, for example, in the previous lesson, we have discussed two questions in Q card round. For example, the first one was talk about a gift which you received lately. And the second question was talk about the person whom you love, admire, or something like that. Right. So if I'll talk about the discussion round questions which will be asked to you in this speaking test. So here the questions from a gift related topic can be talk about any occasion where you exchange gifts or where you like to exchange gifts or where people in your country like to exchange gifts. So these kind of general questions can be asked, but it will be based on the Q card topic. And if I'll take the example of the question like talk about a successful person or talk about a person who you love, admire, or something like that. So maybe the question can be asked to you that what are the things which makes people successful? Right. So these kind of questions will be asked to you in this round. Or it can be related to any general issue. Now here if I'll talk about any general issue, so the common questions which you'll get is related to everyday issues like technology, economy, trade, tourism, health, education, environment, transportation, communication, or so on. There are so many topics. Right. Now here you need to note one thing that you have to answer each and every question asked by the examiner. You cannot stop, you cannot hesitate, right, while speaking because there will be deduction of pants. And one thing more that your answers can be neither too short nor too long. So here I have given one example for too short and too long answers. Like you will fail to mention your ideas or opinion if your answer will be too short. So here basically whatever the question is asked to you, for example, if I'll take about this question that what are the things which makes people successful? Right. In this case, if your answer will be too short that there are blah 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 things which makes people successful. So definitely you are lacking ideas and your invigilator is expecting more answer that you should speak more. Right. So in that case, there will be deduction of bands if your answer will be too short. And in case it will be too long, so you will end up making more grammar mistakes or grammatical errors. Right. Or you can go off topic as well. So it's better to speak for one question for approximately 40 to 45 seconds. I think that's enough to give an answer for a particular question. Now, let's talk about tips, that what are the basic tips you have to follow in the discussion round. So let's start with the first point first. Now, the first point says focus on the questions which are asked to you, right? Whatever the question is, for example, this question only that yes, what are the things which makes people successful? So you just have to focus on the question that yes, what is asked from you, right? If you are talking about that yes, these are the things which makes us successful, and in example you are just focusing on one person and you are talking about the characteristics and feature of that person, that yes, he's the person. For example, if I'll talk about India, Mukesh Ambani, right, the owner of Reliance Limited. So if I'll talk about the example of that person, that yes, these are the things which makes him successful, that's wrong because I cannot focus on that one person to give my example, right? So I have to be very general. Now the second thing says try to maintain fluency and coherence while speaking. So if I'll talk about speaking part, I have to maintain fluency and coherence. So basically, I have to maintain my pace of speech with the pace of the speech of invigilator. Right. I cannot hesitate while I'm speaking. If I hesitate, if I make errors, definitely there can be deduction of bands. So it's better to go with the flow. So, next thing says avoid doing self corrections and ignore your mistakes while speaking. Otherwise, it will create confusion and you will not be able to put forth your idea clearly. Now, here, this is the very common mistake which candidates do most of the time in their test. So, whenever they are speaking about a certain line, they make self corrections. For example, if I'm saying that, yes, I have received so many gifts in my life, but yes, I remember one day when I gave gift, oh, sorry, when I received gift. So, here you can see that I have made a mistake. Instead of receive, I use the word gave, right? So this kind of general mistake can happen. Like instead of gave, I should have said receive. But yes, because in the flow, I use this word gave, so that's okay. It's not important to do self correction and then say sorry. I have to say receive, because here you are making the examiner realize that yes, you have done some mistake and he'll identify it. So don't give him that kind of thing so that he can notice your mistakes. Then comes fourth point, without knowing or understanding the question. Like if a question is asked to you and you are or you have to answer for that question, so it's better to understand the question clearly. Don't rush to answer that question. You can freely ask the examiner to rephrase the question in case you don't understand. There are certain words in the question which are very difficult to understand. For example, if a general question is asked to you, the universities are facing some problems regarding plagiarism. So, what's your opinion on that? So, here maybe some words or some sentences will not be understood by the candidates. For example, the word plagiarism. So, I'll write it here, plagiarism. So if examiner uses this word that yes, most of the universities are dealing with this problem, plagiarism. So what's your opinion, right? If this question is asked, so in that case, you do not have to panic. Like it's okay, and you can feel free to ask the examiner that can you please rephrase the question for me, right? So this is okay. So here, you don't have to panic, need not have to worry. Just ask to the examiner. But yes, you need to remember one thing as well, that you cannot say this line and sentence again and again for each and every question, right? If six questions are asked to you in the discussion round, and for each question, if you are saying, can you please rephrase the question for me, like this part, it's not okay, right? You have to skip this part and you can use this lifeline for once. So, next point says it's not possible for you to answer for each and every question, right? Because there are some questions which are very difficult to understand, and sometimes it may not have happened with you. For example, if I'll talk about a question, what is your opinion regarding the working couple as they are not giving proper time to their children? So anything regarding working couple can be asked to you. So for the academic students, the students who are going abroad for further studies, so maybe they are not aware about how the working culture of working couples are, right? And how they are managing to raise their children. So if the question is asked to you related to that, so in that case, what you have to do? You can always have a chance to frame any random story to answer. So if this question is asked to you that how working couple these days are managing to raise their children, so it's better that you should cook up a story. And then you can also give certain examples because in your environment or your surroundings, it's happening with so many people and you have seen so many couples working these days in the outside world. So you can give any random example, right? Then remember, you are being assessed on your English speaking, not on the basis of your knowledge. Knowledge is important, but it's not like that you have to be very precise about the knowledge. Sometimes you may cook up a story, and if it's not happening in the word, you can still speak up because examiners are checking your English fluency, or you can say ability. So in that case, it's okay to go wrong in certain cases. But yes, remember, don't go off topic in that case. Now, 6 point says the justification of your idea or opinion should be clear and precise. So, whatever the examiner is expecting from you to answer, you need to be very clear and precise in that. In case you're not using vocabulary words, but if you're using simple sentences in your answers, that's okay because it can be clearly understood. But in case you are trying to use idiomatic language, or you can say vocabulary words, you are just improving your lexicals, but your sentences are not so clear and it's not understood by the examiner, so definitely you're going to lose your pants. So it's better you need to be clear in your sentences. Then comes avoid repetition of ideas and words. You cannot speak one line again and again in the introduction and then in the reason, then in the example, then in the conclusion. You cannot use the same line again and again. So try to experiment with words. Your words should definitely change when you shift to other sentence. Right. Otherwise, again, there will be deduction of bands if you use the same words again and again. For example, if I'll talk about the word change. So you have used the word change already in the first sentence. So it's better in the second sentence, you can use variations, right? Transformation. So there are so many words, right? So you can use those things. Now, the most important thing here, I'm gonna highlight it. Follow IRIE technique to answer the question. Now, this is the technique which I have implemented for you candidates, that if you follow this technique, it will become easy for you to answer your discussion round questions. Now, let's check out what this technique says. Now, here you can see IRIE stands for Introduction, Reason, Illustration, Ending. Introduction means whenever any question is asked to you, you have to introduce that question. First of all, you have to just speak the same line as the examiner says by giving your opinion. Then comes the reason, that whatever the question is, you have to give the reason that in which context it states that same thing, right? You have to give the reason for that. I'll show you one example to make you understand. Then comes illustration. It's better to give example to justify your point, because whenever you give example, invigilators and examiner can clearly understand that what you are trying to say. And then comes ending. It's good to end your sentence carefully and precisely, because in the ending part, examiner can definitely get a click in his mind that yes, this is the ending of the question, so I have to be prepared to ask you the next question, right? So now let's follow this technique stepwise. So here you can see IRI technique is helpful in answering the questions. So first thing is introduction. So I'll read the sentences for you in the introduction part. It is always good to start answering your question with an introductory line. Introduction can be framed by paraphrasing the examiner's question, right? Paraphrasing, what does it means? It basically means whatever the question of the examiner is, you have to just translate that question in your own language or simple language, right? This will gives you time to think about the question and frame an opinion. Now you know that in this discussion round, you will not get extra time to think about the question. You have to be prompt. So in that case, when you rephrase the question of the examiner, it gives you time to think about the question, right? And you can frame your opinion and frame your more ideas. So then comes reason. Here I have written, then you have to extend your answer by mentioning a specific reason. So whatever the question will be, you have to just give a reason that why it is happening and explain why and what you think about the question. Right. So then comes illustration, that's an example. In order to justify your reason, whatever you are giving, it's always better to quote an example. Make sure that the example which you are giving or which you will mention should be relatable. Like some of the students definitely, if it is asked about the internet, but some of the students just talk about the computers in the example, so it's not matched up and it's not relatable. You have to relate the sentences with that of the example, with that of the reason, and it should be interrelated, right? You can either use your personal example. So here it is like, you can say a plus point given to you that yes, personalization is allowed, unlike that of writing module, right? So you can use any personal example if it has happened with you, if it's gonna happen in the future with you. So you can use any personal example, and then you can make any random story as well to support your point. Now then comes the ending part, which is the most important and the crucial one. Always try to end your question by mentioning a conclusion. Say, so here I have just written a line for you which will help you to end. So, in the end, I would like to say that this is the basic sentence, and if you use the sentence in your phrase or in your ending, definitely your marks will increase. Now, you have checked this whole technique. Let's show you the example. So, here you can see the question I have given here is, how has the internet changed the way we live? So you can see here the introduction part, I have used the sentence, to be honest, the internet has revolutionized the way we live. This is the introduction of internet. So I've just picked up one word and I have made or framed a introductory line on that. Then comes the reason. I have to mention how the internet has changed the way we live. So I'll give the reason saying it has made our life more comfortable by allowing us to work more effectively at home and work more productively at the office. Now it's even considered to be the growing mode of communication. So you can see that without any examples, I've just mentioned the reason that how it is convenient. Then comes the example part. So I have used a phrase called to simplify. That means, for example, one can easily make video calls to be in touch with their loved ones, do online shopping at any time, and even do online banking transactions by sitting at home. With this technology, we have an amazing access to information and they are just a few clicks away. So you can see that I have used 3 to 4 examples. First is video calls, second online shopping, third banking transactions, and then access to information. So you can use 2 examples, you can use 3, you can use 4, 5, n number of examples, which will justify your reason. And then with a good ending, I have said that thus the blessing of this prominent technology to our world is truly remarkable. Just ended up with one sentence. That's enough in the introduction and the conclusion. But your reason and example should be more and contain more sentences, which will contribute to 40 to 45 seconds of your answer. So, this is how your technique will help you to answer each and every question which will be asked to you in your speaking test. So, all the best. And there are so many questions I have put for you or for your reference in the book. So, you can refer the ebook which is provided to you with these lessons, and you can get n number of answers in that book, which will definitely gonna come in your examination. Thanks for watching.